Are you worrying that not letting your child experience natural consequences is somehow going to be harmful to them in the short term and maybe the long term? And you might be wondering about, well, what is the science and the evidence behind treating children, always treating children, with kindness, compassion, patience, and respect? Well, let's address the first one. The thing with natural consequences is sometimes it's not about us hovering over children and trying to remove everything from their lives that could possibly emotionally or physically cause them momentary harm, because then they just absorb all the anxiety that we are feeling around this, and it makes them very panicky, and they can't function very well. So it really isn't about that. Natural consequences, if they are things that we can see, that by not reminding them that they have forgotten their homework, by not saying the thing that, we have said many times. I remember my 17-year-old years ago, every time he went out, once he'd got his driving license, I would say, I'm going to say the thing now about, and he'd be like, ugh. But, I just said it. I said it rather than, not say it and him potentially not have that just sitting in his mind. So things will happen in life to children. That's really normal. And, we don't want them to. We can emotionally hold them through them. What I'm talking about is when we can see that they are about to suffer in some way, and we choose to allow them to carry on down that path because we feel like it's time they learnt the hard way. They need to suffer the consequences of not doing the thing that I said. So very understandable. But the reason why I always talk about, if it was your precious best friend, would you do that? Maybe out of frustration you might, but it's less likely. We're more likely to say to an adult, oh, did you forget the thing? Or, oh, did you need me to help you with that? Or something like that. But children, no. Children, we have been convinced it's better to let them suffer the discomfort, shame, embarrassment, and all the rest of it. So that's what I mean by that. And then somebody wisely was asking me for the science behind raising children with kindness, compassion, and respect. Do we have any? Well, luckily in 2026 we've got a bucket load. So if you want to delve into this a bit more deeply so that you feel able to trust it, a wonderful book that I read zillions of years ago called Unconditional Parenting by Alfie, Alfie, Kohn, Kohn, is jam-packed through what back then, was probably newer research, but now is very, there's probably been a lot more done and a lot more studies that prove that, yes, letting children suffer and be manipulated by consequences, rewards, and praise is, proven in adults, let alone children, although there are studies on children as well, to not be helpful and not give them the best outcomes in life. There's also a book that I read many years ago now, but I still love, called Born for Love. It's by Bruce Perry. So he is a neuroscientist and a psychiatrist, amongst other things, globally renowned childhood trauma expert, and Maya Slavovitz. But if you put in Born for Love, Bruce Perry, it will pop up for you. Again, lots of research studies, stuff from his clinical practice, evidence that, being kind to children helps their bodies and brain develop in the most optimum way. So we're not, as I say, clearing the path so that they never experience anything difficult or any hardships in life. No, because we can't. but we are consistently showing up in their life with kindness, compassion, and patience. That helps the body and brain develop in an optimum way. Another thing, if you want to look at the neurophysiology of the benefits of this, the work of Stephen Porges, so Professor Stephen Porges, he's an academic, but his polyvagal theory is very, gives real clear evidence again of how and why we would treat children in that respectful, kind, regulating way. Then, you can always look at the work of Dr. Dan Siegel, interpersonal neurobiology. He's written books on raising children and books on interpersonal neurobiology. So we're very fortunate that we live in a time where there's tons and tons of research and science, as I say, that show that when we choose not to shame children and allow them to suffer and have additional stress that they really don't need in life, by just allowing them to suffer the consequences, then it's really beneficial to them right now in their developing bodies and brains and for the rest of their lives. It gives them a much more stable nervous system and a real foundation of feeling safe. So hope that's useful to you. Do let me know. I love these discussions that we're having.